welcome back to your time with Doc Squared. My name is Dr. Michelle van Tonder, and I'm sitting here with none other than
Dr. Anthony van Tonder.
my husband. Sure, been here a long time. But anyway, why I say that is because today's session I'm going to interview him and ask him about the book that he's written on leaving a 7-generational legacy. What does that mean, and why would you have written that book?
Well, you see, when it comes to legacy, people haven't thought it through in terms of how far and beyond they want to go. Therefore, I'm going to share keys that will unlock how to leave a 7-generational legacy. Because when we talk about legacy, just for a start, people think 3 generations.
True.
The first generation come and they work hard and they build up wealth. The second generation comes and they squander the wealth. And the third generation, well, they're back to starting all over again.
So why have you chosen 7 generations? You started explaining to me 7 generations. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why 7 generations?
Well, you know, if you look at our Creator God, 7 is that perfect number of completion. And I do believe if we can actually instill a new way of getting 7 generations, that means something that commences and lasts for 7 generations, that we would have changed the world.
Absolutely. And we've just done an exercise lately of trying to find out who our grandparents are and our great-grandparents are, and how difficult it was because our parents didn't think even to know who your great-grandparents were, and what did they do, what did they stand for. So that is what you're trying to say as you're putting this through here. And so I know you've got a chapter that talks about a plan. Is it about planning all of this?
Well, before you get to planning, you have to actually let that drop into your brain that realizes, I mean, do you know what your grandfather did? Okay. But what did his father do? Here comes the cruncher. What does his father do? All of a sudden you go, I don't know. Because you know what? We do not leave proof of the generations, and it starts with planning. If you want to leave a 7-generational legacy, you need to plan towards achieving it. And that starts off by, of course, first, getting the current family tree going, but making sure that from here onwards that you start building together and get a plan on the table to find out how to leave the 7 generations, how to accumulate all the information, how to put it into where it belongs.
You tapped on something just now, and you said it's all about the mindset behind it and let it sink it in. So what happens if my stayed in my ways, and how do I transfer? And are you sharing with us some how-tos on how we can do that?
I just found it necessary in this book to also speak about mind shifting, that paradigm shift that is necessary, because so many people get stuck in a rut. They don't know what to do, how to go forward. Therefore, I help you with basic mind exercises to realize that your brain has got a conscious brain and it's got a subconscious brain, and how your subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between reality and maybe or make-believe. Therefore, if you can say, we are a 7-generational legacy, your subconscious is already clicking into saying 7, and it starts asking how. And you have to start performing to produce that.
And if you don't have any information on, like, let's say your great-grandparents, can I start the 7 generation with, like, my mom and dad and me, and then we start planning it that way? Can we plan that way, or do we have to try and plan upwards?
You can plan any way you want.
Okay.
But the problem is this. It will all go back to what you can source. Because if you cannot source through genealogy who they were, what they did, you really are in trouble. Therefore, no legacy is being left. So you will have to start with what information you have.
Wow, exciting. Now, in the role, and I've seen it many times before, and I've seen it with somebody who's come and written our wills for us, to what extent must I source legal advice in certain parts of leaving a legacy?
Oh gosh, to try and do this without an advisor is a nightmare. Because first, for you to understand where you are, what you want to communicate to the next generation, you literally need advice. And that advice normally is legal of nature, but what people forget about is, what about how you will actually get the advice and how you will transfer it to the next generation. That advice is very important. I mean, what's the one big thing that we always fight about? The last will and testament. Why? Everybody thinks, what's in it for me? I mean, you haven't seen the family for years, and guess what? Somebody dies, hey, they rock up, because they want to know what's in it for me.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. If that last will and testament hasn't been documented correctly, hasn't been negotiated correctly, hasn't been communicated correctly, you have a problem, because the last will and testament is not clear. And how often have you seen how people think unfair? Why didn't he think of me? And now you all have the family fights working out. And let me tell you this straight. There will be fights. Best you sort of build in how to resolve conflict. I just want to say that.
Yeah. So you tapped on something that I just heard with my ear there, and that was the word communicate. To what extent must communication be left?
Well, communication resonates in the voice of the holder, which means the person leaving the legacy is the best person to communicate and articulate what they mean. In other words, let's say I'm leaving the legacy. It is my job to find out what ways, what means do I have to lead that legacy to the next generation. Here's the problem. Technology plays a vital role. Yes, if it's in written form, there's a document that can go through. But best, how do you keep an original document? Because people will not believe the copy when it comes to who gets what. There's also a new way. Maybe you want to make a recording like we're speaking to you now.
True.
There's an opportunity to communicate that they hear your voice, they see your heart, they see your mind. You know, I think it's so important. Now, the question must be, how often must you do it? As often as necessary. I believe once a year that if you want to leave a legacy, like if you get into a point knowing that your time is coming, just update it annually that people know who you were, what you meant, and then obviously, as part of the plan was not only to speak about what you're leaving behind, but start speaking strategically of what the next person could consider to leave behind, following the keys to unlock a 7-generational legacy.
Wow. So if you want that book, because I really suggest that every family should have a look at it and find these insights that we've just shared with you now on taking and making sure that not just your belongings are left as a legacy, but what you stand for is being left as a legacy, please hop on to our website, growthhabits.online. Go through to the ebook section and get yourself a copy of Leaving a 7-Generational Legacy, the secret keys to leaving that, and what are those keys. So I suggest you hop on. The book is only going to cost you $3.99.
Thank you. Unlock your future.